The rich do not simply work harder. Many poor men work brutally hard. They wake up tired. They sell their body. They sell their hours. They sell their mood. They sell their youth to a machine they do not own. And then society insults them with a beautiful lie. Just work harder. But Machiavelli would not be impressed by effort. He would ask a colder question. Who owns the structure? Because the difference between the poor man and the rich man is not always intelligence. It is not always talent. It is not always discipline. The difference is this. The poor man is trapped inside the machine. The rich man owns the machine. If your income depends only on your body, your time, and your emotional state, you are not building wealth. You are renting yourself. And a rented man may be useful, but he is not powerful. So the question is not, how hard do you work? The question is, what keeps working after you stop? That is the question most men avoid, because it threatens the story they were given when they were young. Work hard, be loyal, be patient, be useful, keep your head down. One day, someone will notice, but the world does not reward hidden suffering. The world rewards controlled mechanisms, a system, an asset, a distribution channel, a recurring revenue engine, a reputation that sells before you speak, a piece of ownership that keeps producing after your hands stop moving. Effort alone does not create power. Effort becomes power only when it is attached to a machine. This is why Adobe became more powerful when it stopped merely selling software boxes and moved toward Creative Cloud subscriptions. Adobe reported creative annualized recurring revenue of $546 million in the third quarter of 2013. That was not just a change in pricing, that was a change in control. Adobe moved from selling a product once to controlling access continuously. This is why Netflix betrayed the old DVD machine before the old machine fully died. Netflix launched streaming years before ending DVD by mail, and later shipped its final discs on September 29, 2023. Netflix understood something most people refuse to understand. The model that feeds you today can become the model that buries you tomorrow. These companies did not survive because they were sentimental. They survived because they understood machinery. The strongest business models do not only sell products, they control habits. And now the question becomes personal. What machine are you building, or are you still only inside someone else's? If you do not understand this, you will mistake exhaustion for progress. You will call yourself disciplined because you are always busy. But busy is not the same as powerful. A donkey can be busy. A desperate man can be busy. A man drowning in bills can be busy. A man running from shame can be busy. Machiavelli would not ask how tired you are. He would ask what your effort controls. In The Prince, Machiavelli writes, "The chief foundations of all states are good laws and good arms." He was speaking about states, armies, and rule, but the principle is larger. A state without its own arms depends on another man's force. A man without his own machine depends on another man's structure, and dependency is never neutral. When you depend on another man's platform, he owns the terms. When you depend on one employer, he owns your fear. When you depend on one client, he owns your sleep. When you depend only on your body, time owns your ceiling. That is why unsupported men must study wealth differently, not as luxury, not as flexing, not as escape, but as power architecture. Because money is not the deepest form of power. Ownership is. Money can be spent. Ownership can reproduce. Money can make you look rich. Ownership can make you hard to control. If you understand this, subscribe now. Not because this channel comforts you, but because it trains you to see the structures other men obey without noticing. There are levels in this hierarchy. The worker is consumed by the machine. The skilled man is rented at a higher price. The builder begins to create the machine. The owner controls the machine. The capital allocator decides which machines deserve more fuel. And your first machine is where your old life begins to die. Start at the bottom. The worker does not merely operate the machine. At the bottom, the worker is the machine. His body is the engine. His time is the fuel. His obedience is the maintenance system. When he stops, the income stops. This is why society praises labor as the highest virtue, while quietly rewarding men who escape it. Every system needs people who believe labor is the final form of honor. A ruler needs soldiers. A company needs workers. A platform needs creators. A market needs producers. But the highest rewards rarely go to the man who burns the most energy. They go to the man who controls where that energy flows. If you remain only the machine, you are always one injury, one layoff, one bad month, one algorithm change, one exhausted nervous system away from collapse. Machiavelli writes in The Prince, "Mercenaries and auxiliaries are useless and dangerous." He was warning rulers not to depend on forces they do not truly control. The modern worker makes the same mistake in reverse. He gives his force to a structure he does not own. He becomes another man's army. Then he wonders why loyalty did not become freedom. Look at the man who works hard but owns nothing. He may be respected when useful, but the moment his usefulness declines, the room changes. His boss becomes colder, his clients become less patient, his family becomes more anxious. His friends stop asking about ambition and start asking why he is tired. This is not cruelty, it is hierarchy. People treat dependent men differently, not because dependent men have no value, but because their value has no independent structure behind it. A man with no reserves negotiates differently. A man with no portfolio speaks differently. A man with no distribution begs differently. A man with no ownership sleeps differently. Without reserves, your boss, your landlord, and emergencies own pieces of your spine. The worker's tragedy is not that he works. Work is necessary. The tragedy is that he never converts work into a machine. He earns, he spends, he recovers, he returns. No asset remains, no system compounds, no proof accumulates, no leverage grows. He is not lazy, he is structurally trapped. So stop asking how you can work harder. Ask what remains after you finish working. A skill, a process, a reputation, a client list, a product, a documented result, a piece of equity, a content library, a system that brings opportunity while you sleep. If nothing remains, you are not building, you are only surviving. But survival is not useless, because the worker has one advantage. He is close to pain. And pain, if studied correctly, tells him exactly what machine he needs to build. The next rank is skill. Skill is the first rebellion. The unskilled man sells effort. The skilled man sells outcomes. But do not confuse skill with freedom. A more expensive cage is still a cage. Many talented men stay poor, ignored or controlled because skill improves the machine, but ownership changes the game. If you only become skilled, you may earn more. But you may also become more valuable to someone else's empire. A better employee, a better contractor, a better producer, a better instrument, useful, but still owned by demand you do not control. Machiavelli writes in The Prince, "He who causes another to become powerful ruins himself." In politics, helping another ruler rise can destroy you. In modern wealth, building another man's machine while never building your own can quietly ruin your future. Not instantly, quietly, year by year. You become competent enough to be used, but not positioned enough to command. This is the skilled man nobody notices. He is good, he is reliable, he solves problems, but he has no public proof, no narrative control, no distribution, no visible leverage. Hidden value is often treated as non-existent value. The world rewards visible proof, not silent potential. That is why a less skilled man with better positioning can outrank him. That is why a louder co-worker steals credit. That is why a mediocre business owner hires talented specialists and keeps the equity. Not because the owner is morally superior, because the owner controls the frame. Skill is not the final goal. Skill is raw material. The strategic man asks, how do I turn this skill into a repeatable mechanism? A designer becomes an agency. A writer becomes a content engine. A salesman becomes a lead system. A coder becomes software. A consultant becomes a productized offer. A creator becomes distribution. An employee becomes a portfolio with proof. Skill becomes power only when it becomes structured. Do not be proud only because you are skilled. Skill without leverage can become a prettier form of obedience. The worker says, I hope they notice. The skilled man says, I can produce value. The builder says, I can make value repeat. And repetition does not happen by accident. It happens when a man stops thinking like labor and starts thinking like architecture. The builder is dangerous because he stops needing constant emotional permission. He does not ask the world to believe in him. He builds something the world must respond to. A machine is not always a factory. A machine is any mechanism that turns inputs into outputs repeatedly. Attention into leads, leads into clients, clients into revenue, revenue into assets, assets into freedom, proof into trust, trust into pricing power. Without a machine, every month is a new battle from zero. You must chase again, convince again, beg attention again, find clients again, prove yourself again. This destroys men, not because they are weak, but because they have no structure. Machiavelli writes in The Art of War, discipline in war counts more than fury. Fury is hustle. Discipline is structure. Fury works late. Discipline builds a process. Fury gets emotional. Discipline measures results. Fury starts from zero every week. Discipline makes the machine better every week. This is why Adobe's shift matters. Adobe did not merely ask how to sell more software once. It moved toward a model where customers returned continuously. That is a machine. Recurring revenue is not just money. It is predictability. Predictability gives planning power. Planning power gives investment power, gives market power. Adobe's Creative Cloud strategy was designed to increase value for customers and increase revenue with existing customers. That is not hustle language. That is machine language. The same principle appears in Netflix. Netflix did not remain loyal to DVD because DVD once worked. It moved toward streaming, then eventually ended DVD by mail. What made Netflix successful could have become the thing that buried Netflix. That is the lesson most men refuse to apply to themselves. The job that feeds you can become the job that traps you. The skill that pays you can become the skill that cages you. The client that gives you income can become the client that owns your nervous system. The platform that gives you attention can become the platform that decides whether you exist. The builder understands that wealth is not created by effort alone. Wealth begins when effort becomes a mechanism. A machine does three things. It repeats. It improves. It reduces dependence on your mood. A man with no machine must feel strong every day. A man with a machine only needs to maintain the system. This is not laziness. This is strategic design. Stop being proud that you can endure chaos. Build something that reduces chaos. The unsupported man must become his own institution. No network, build proof. No support, build distribution. No investor, build revenue. No applause, build data. No permission, build anyway. But every machine has a deeper layer, because the builder creates the machine, the owner controls it. And control is where Machiavelli becomes unavoidable. Ownership is the difference between being useful and being sovereign. The useful man gets paid. The owner gets paid again. The market rewards ownership because ownership controls future output. Labor sells the present. Ownership claims a portion of the future. If you do not understand ownership, you will spend your life improving another man's asset. You will make the company more valuable. You will make the platform more valuable. You will make the landlord richer. You will make the client more scalable. You will make the owner harder to compete with. And then you will call it unfair. Machiavelli would call it predictable. In The Prince, Machiavelli writes, "A wise prince ought to adopt such a course that his citizens will always have need of the state and of him." This is not moral advice. It is a power mechanism. Power belongs to the structure others need. Modern ownership works the same way. Own the tool people need. Own the audience people need. Own the building people need. Own the software people need. Own the brand people trust. Own the system clients return to. Need creates dependence. Dependence creates power. This is why distribution is often more powerful than talent. A talented man with no distribution waits to be discovered. A less talented man with distribution can sell, test, learn, and improve faster. This is why media is a machine. A YouTube channel is a machine. A newsletter is a machine. A lead magnet is a machine. A sales page is a machine. A sales page is a machine. A referral system is a machine. A reputation is a machine. But understand the distinction. If the platform owns your audience, you own access, not power. Access can be revoked. Ownership gives control. Many men think they own something when they only have permission to use it. They own a social account, but not the audience. They own a job title, but not the company. They own a rented apartment, but not the asset. They own a client relationship, but not the distribution that brought the client. This is why the owner is not merely richer because he has more money. He is richer because he owns mechanisms that produce money. Equity, assets, recurring revenue, distribution, intellectual property, real estate, software, media, customer relationships, market positioning. These are machines. Some are small, some are massive, but they share one trait. They reduce the owner's dependence on direct labor. You are not trying to escape work. That is a childish interpretation. You are trying to make work compound. The weak man wants money so he can avoid pressure. The strategic man wants ownership, so pressure begins working for him. But above the owner stands another figure, the capital allocator. He does not build every machine. He learns which machines deserve to be bought. At the highest level, wealth becomes selection. The poor man asks, "What can I do?" The skilled man asks, "What can I sell?" The builder asks, "What can I create?" The owner asks, "What can I control?" The capital allocator asks, "Which machine deserves more fuel?" This is why some men multiply money while others merely protect it. Capital without judgment is just stored weakness. Capital with judgment becomes command. If you earn money but never learn allocation, your money remains vulnerable. Lifestyle eats it. Inflation weakens it. Emergencies attack it. Status games drain it. Bad investments punish it. Family pressure claims it. Impulse destroys it. Machiavelli writes in The Prince, "A prince who relies entirely upon fortune is lost when it changes. This is the law of men who depend on income alone. When fortune changes, they collapse. The job disappears, the client leaves, the market shifts, the algorithm changes, the body gets tired, the rent rises, fortune moves." and the man with no machine discovers he was never free. Capital allocation is not gambling. It is not fantasy. It is not pretending every man should run a fund. It is the ability to place resources where they can produce more resources. At a small level, this means buying tools that increase your output. A better camera if content is your machine. A better customer relationship management system if sales is your machine. A course only if it produces execution. A contractor only if delegation creates more capacity. An emergency fund if it reduces obedience. A portfolio if it gives you proof. A system if it saves repeated mental labor. At a larger level, it means equity, real estate, companies, funds, intellectual property, and cash-flowing assets. But the principle is the same. Money should not only be spent. Money should be assigned. The capital allocator understands that wealth is organized force. Every dollar is a soldier. Some soldiers are wasted on appearance. Some soldiers defend your independence. Some soldiers are sent into machines that return with more soldiers. Machiavelli writes, "Nature creates few men brave. Industry and training makes many." Most men are not naturally good with money. They are trained by poverty, family, school, advertising, and insecurity to consume it, fear it, or worship it. The strategic man trains himself to command it. Stop seeing money as proof that you are worthy. See money as a force that must be disciplined. A weak man spends to be seen. A strategic man allocates to become harder to control. Amateurs buy status. Builders buy leverage. But before you can allocate capital at scale, you need a first machine. Not a fantasy. Not a billion-dollar dream. A simple, ugly, working mechanism. Your first machine will not look impressive. It will look small. That is why most men ignore it. They want the appearance of power before they have the structure of power. So what should an unsupported man build first? Not what looks glamorous, what creates leverage. If you choose the wrong first machine, you will waste years building something that feeds your ego, but not your freedom. A logo is not a machine. A business idea is not a machine. A motivational routine is not a machine. A notebook full of plans is not a machine. A machine produces output. If it does not produce output, it is decoration. Your first machine may be a service machine. You solve one painful problem for one type of person. Not vague, specific. Editing for fitness coaches. Landing pages for local businesses. Lead generation for roofers. Automation for small agencies. Copywriting for consultants. Short-form content for educators. Pressure, you have no reputation. Action, you build proof. First evidence, one result, one testimonial, one before and after. Power lesson, the world does not fund your dream, it funds evidence. Your first machine may be a productized offer. You stop selling random labor, you package a result. Clear promise, clear process, clear timeline, clear price, clear proof. Pressure, clients do not trust chaos. Action, you make the buying decision easier. First evidence, repeatable delivery. Power lesson, clarity increases control. Your first machine may be a content engine. You publish proof, insight, case studies, breakdowns, and philosophy around the problem you solve. Pressure, no one knows you. Action, you become visible without begging. First evidence, inbound attention. Power lesson, distribution reduces dependence on gatekeepers. Your first machine may be a lead engine. You build a repeatable way to generate conversations. Cold outreach, search traffic, referrals, content, partnerships, communities. Pressure, inconsistent opportunity. Action, you create predictable attention. First evidence, conversations appear without panic. Power lesson: a man with leads has oxygen. Your first machine may be a portfolio machine. You document your work publicly. Results, screenshots, case studies, numbers written as words, lessons, failures converted into intelligence. Pressure: no one will vouch for you. Action: make your work testify. First evidence: strangers understand your value before meeting you. Power lesson: proof is a weapon against invisibility. Your first machine must answer one question: how does this create value without depending entirely on my emotional state every day? If the machine requires your labor but builds proof, it is acceptable. If it requires your time but creates an asset, it is acceptable. If it starts manually but becomes repeatable, it is acceptable. The first machine does not need to be passive, it needs to be ownable. Do not despise small machines. Every empire begins as a mechanism that works before it looks impressive. The worker wants respect before proof. The builder creates proof until respect becomes unavoidable. And now you can see the full structure. Machiavelli did not write a personal finance book. He wrote about power. And money without ownership is not power. It is temporary permission. Most men seek security first. A safe job, a stable check, approval from family, predictable comfort. But security without power is fragile. Use jobs, use clients, use platforms, use institutions. But do not confuse use with dependence. Machiavelli's world is shaped by fortuna and virtue. Fortuna is luck, timing, chaos, market shifts, opportunity, crisis. Virtue is force, skill, adaptability, boldness, preparation, command. The poor man curses fortune. The strategic man builds machines that can survive fortune. Netflix saw the battlefield changing. Adobe saw the revenue model changing. The unsupported man must do the same. Your current income model may feed you now, but ask yourself this: will it bury you later? Machiavelli writes, "Everyone sees what you appear to be, few experience what you really are." In wealth, this means your value must be legible. The market does not investigate every hidden genius. It responds to signals: portfolio, proof, positioning, distribution, authority, reputation. If your value cannot be seen, it can be ignored. This is why being liked is not enough. People like you when you are convenient. They respect you when you are necessary. They fear losing you when you have leverage. Become valuable enough that your absence has consequences. That is not arrogance, that is position. A man may be hardworking, honest, disciplined, and capable, but if none of it becomes visible proof, the world treats him as theory. This is not fair, it is real. The man who does the work but does not frame the work is vulnerable. Someone else can claim credit, someone else can define him, someone else can price him, someone else can make him appear replaceable. Narrative is not lying. Narrative is ownership of interpretation. Document results. Name your process. Show evidence. Control the frame. And understand this carefully. Strength before ethics does not mean abandon ethics. It means ethics without strength often becomes performance. A powerless man can call himself moral because he has no options. A strong man's ethics are tested because he has choices. For the unsupported man, the lesson is not cruelty. The lesson is capacity. Build strength first. Then your restraint means something. If you are the kind of man who is ready to stop confusing motion with progress, stop collecting ideas you never turn into structure. You already know hard work matters, but your problem is not effort. Your problem is that your effort is not attached to a machine. If you keep renting your mind, body, time, and talent to systems you do not own, you will become older, more exhausted, and easier to replace. Inside Patreon, you get deeper, unfiltered lessons on power, strategy, discipline, and the hidden mechanics behind human behavior. So you can stop reacting to the game and start building structures that give you leverage. This is not for men who want comfort. It is for men who are done being useful but powerless. The decision is yours. You were trained to think wealth comes from harder work. That belief made you obedient. Because if effort is the only answer, then every failure becomes personal shame. You did not work hard enough. You did not sacrifice enough. You did not want it badly enough. But that is only half true. Effort matters. Discipline matters. Sacrifice matters. But without a machine, they bleed out. The new belief is colder. Wealth begins when labor becomes leverage. Leverage becomes ownership. Ownership becomes power. Power becomes freedom. You are not trying to become lazy. You are trying to stop being consumed. You are not trying to avoid work. You are trying to make work survive beyond the hour you performed it. You are not trying to be rescued. No one is coming. Good. That means no one owns your rise. Stop being the machine. Build one. And if you are ready to stop renting yourself to systems you do not own, subscribe to Depths of Psyche, not for comfort, for clarity. Because the unsupported man does not need permission. He needs a machine.